Few nutrients have generated as much controversy in recent decades as protein. I'm sure you've heard a friend, a relative, or even a health professional talk about how protein damages your kidneys or your liver and how dangerous it is to supplement with protein. It has happened to me. Fortunately, such prejudices and myths are less and less heard, and today we know how much protein we need to take depending on our condition or context, and how it can help us prevent or even improve different health problems. Today you're going to join me while I explain what happens in your body when you supplement with the most consumed supplement in the world, indeed whey protein or protein whey. You'll see that far from being a supplement for muscular people, gym goers, whey protein can help you in many ways that you probably don't know. So pay attention. The first thing you need to know is what whey protein is and where it comes from. Whey protein comes from milk. Milk is the raw material, specifically from a part of the milk that is the whey. That's why it's called whey protein. Whey, at first glance, is a yellowish liquid. I'll show you some pictures. It doesn't look very appetizing, truth be told. And how is this whey obtained? Well, artificially a coagulant is added to the milk, which is usually rennet. Rennet is a coagulant and is added to the milk. And two parts of the milk are separated, the curd or curdled milk and the whey. The curd is rich in another very popular protein called casein, which is the subject of another video. We'll discuss casein in another video. While whey is rich in different high biological value proteins, not just one protein, but several, which are just the ones that make up the whey protein or the whey protein, because whey is equal to whey in English. Subsequently, through filtering processes, industrial filtering processes, this protein is converted into a powder, which is added to your shakes, water, coffee, yogurts, and which are sold either in a very large scary jar in the gym or in the online supplement store or in the physical supplement store. But beware, it is also sold in smaller jars to hospitals and given to older people who have health problems, or not just different people who need clinical supplementation and who are malnourished, who have some cancer or who have a digestive pathology. Therefore, whey protein is a supplement used at all levels, at the hospital level, at the outpatient level, in people of all ages, in different pathologies, and if also in sports supplementation with sports purposes. Most of you will know whey protein as a sports supplement that is taken with the aim of gaining muscle mass. But it goes much further, as you will see in this video. One moment, I remind you with great excitement that you already have available the first training in Empower Academy, New Tools in Fat Loss and Obesity. A training that you will love, made with a lot of love. Made with a lot of excitement, really. Take a look, because I leave you below in the description the link through which you can access. Well, now we have to erase this because you have already found out the topic of where it comes from, and we are going to continue deepening to see, let's not fool ourselves. Whey protein is not superior to other sources of quality protein, but it is not inferior either. I want you to keep this in mind. That argument that the protein from the jar is a fake protein, and the real protein is the protein from chicken and pork and beef and egg. That argument is as valid as the argument of the gym buff who tells you that you have to take 7 protein shakes to gain muscle mass. That is, it is false. The quality of a protein is based on a concept that I have already explained in other videos that I call biological value. What is the biological value of a protein? Well, it is a parameter that takes into account the amino acid profile of the protein and the amount of essential amino acids it has, as well as its digestibility and ease of absorption. All these parameters are computed and a value is given to the protein or the protein source. The higher the value, the better, the higher the quality of that protein. To give you an idea, the biological value of egg protein, the whole egg and the white, the whole egg is 100 and is taken as a reference, but whey protein has a biological value above 100. Therefore, it is a very high quality protein. It is irreplaceable. It is not completely necessary. Luckily for most, it is not. But is it useful on certain occasions? Indeed. We're going to examine those situations. Situations where whey protein can help you. You may know the first 2 because they are the most common, but stay until the end. Why? Well, because the last 5 are going to surprise you. We start with the first one, which is hypertrophy. Hypertrophy, increase in muscle mass in the context of a supercaloric habit. This, as I say, is the most frequent use of whey protein to help the muscle grow. For the muscle cell to grow, a process has to occur within the muscle cell called muscle protein synthesis or muscle protein synthesis. From English, it's an acronym which is contrary to muscle protein breakdown or muscle protein breakdown, basically rupture or degradation, better said, muscle protein. Whey protein stimulates this, the muscle protein synthesis. First, a series of anabolic proteins are stimulated, which together we will call mammalian target of rapamycin. Although for this to happen, you need to be in caloric surplus. Caloric surplus, what does that mean? Well, it means having an excess of energy so that this excess energy can be used in the construction of muscle, which is a very costly process. There is an amino acid present in whey protein and in many other protein sources, which is leucine. Leucine is the main, although not the only, responsible for that very potent stimulation of muscle protein synthesis by whey protein. So point number 1 is settled. Let's go for point number 2. Oh, I forgot, crucial. Remember that without physical exercise, you can take all the protein you want, all the whey protein you want, but that protein will not be used to build muscle, but to generate glucose or for other maintenance functions. So train strength. And now guys, we move on to the second point, which is to avoid muscle loss, especially in hypocaloric diets. And this is very important. Another lesser known function of protein is to prevent you from losing muscle. If you are overweight and obese and want to lose 10, 15 or 20 kilos, the best thing you can do, or one of the best things you can do in the field of nutrition, is to increase the protein content of your diet. This is because protein first helps to decrease your appetite. It keeps you satiated in addition. Second point, protein hardly turns into fat. Our metabolism finds it very difficult to turn it into fat. But third point, it preserves your muscle, your lean mass. In every weight loss diet, we also lose muscle. And this is disastrous and misleading. Misleading because you can be very happy when you step on the scale and see that you have lost weight. Oh great, claps. But what if I tell you that up to a third of that weight could be muscle? Point 2, disastrous. Why? Because it is well known that the less muscle, the easier it is to regain the lost weight. So the stricter the diet you are on and the fewer calories it has, the more important it will be to add protein to it. The problem is that when we talk about high amounts of protein, like for example 0.07 ounces per kilo of weight per day, something that is not outrageous if you are on a hypocaloric diet, it is very difficult to take it only with food. And this is where whey protein is very convenient for its easy administration. It's convenient, comfortable, and easy to take. Third point, third use, prevents sarcopenia in advanced stages. What is that sarcopenia? If you're like most, you'll identify protein as a supplement for young, strong people. But what if I told you that whey protein supplementation makes more sense in older people than in young people? Would that break your schemas? My arguments are as follows. Pay attention. As we age, we develop what is known as anabolic resistance, not diabolic, anabolic resistance. This means that we need increasingly higher anabolic stimuli to gain or not lose muscle. Anabolic resistance is intrinsically linked to low-grade chronic inflammation, as shown in this interesting figure. Additionally, this relates to another fact. We lose our appetite as we get older, for many different reasons that are beyond the scope of this video. But as we get older, we have less appetite, and often we have less desire for protein-rich foods. What's the conclusion? It's that many older adults don't even come close to meeting protein recommendations, which accelerates muscle loss and brings us sooner to a very problematic situation, which is sarcopenia. Sarco means flesh and penia means deficit. Therefore, a deficit of muscle mass that is associated with more falls, more hospitalizations, less strength, and a higher risk of death from any cause. Therefore, it's a problem, and moreover, it's a problem that we can prevent. Muscle is health, don't forget it. We erase, and we go with point number 4. Point number 4, which surprised me, will hopefully surprise you as well. Antioxidant effect. we have quite well associated the idea that eating fruit and vegetables, for example, has an antioxidant effect. But the whey protein, that jar with that strong guy there in the jar that has an antioxidant effect, well, if the whey protein has a quite interesting antioxidant effect because it contains an amino acid called cysteine, and cysteine is a precursor of the glutathione, which is one of the most potent antioxidants we have in the body. You can find cysteine in other protein sources, of course, or even supplementing with N-acetylcysteine, but you will also find it in whey protein. This can be very useful. Even look at patients with fatty liver because it reduces the amount of fat in the liver and decreases transaminases in the analysis, which is an analytical parameter that rises when we have an excess of fat in the liver, and the liver can even become inflamed. Point number 5, better control of appetite, decrease of ghrelin. As I have mentioned in other videos, keeping your satiety levels high is key. It's key when losing weight, is key when not gaining it. Satiety levels are controlled by a myriad of hormones, but one of the most important is called ghrelin. Ghrelin increases when we have been without eating for a while. Leptin, however, signals satiety and is produced, it is generated when we have just eaten. It tells our central nervous system that we are already full, that we do not eat more, that we have energy to interpret, and knowing how to modify these hormones is key. It is key to long-term success. And as you see, losing weight is much more than counting calories in and calories out, much more complex. Point number 6, decreases intestinal permeability. Things are getting interesting with this whey protein. The intestinal permeability can be reduced by supplementation with whey protein. Because whey protein has an amino acid called glutamine, a lot of diseases start in the digestive tube. This is a great truth. Many authors think that everything starts with a loss of the barrier function that our digestive tube exerts. If you have noticed, the digestive tube is a barrier between the outside, our environment, and our body, our organism, and prevents at all times the entry into our blood of different problematic compounds, like bacterial elements that trigger inflammatory responses in the body. And that would be the anteroom of other chronic diseases, of difficult management, of difficult prevention, and with a complicated treatment, whey protein can decrease. Look at this study. The intestinal permeability, they gave 0.0176 ounces per kilogram of weight, which is about 1.4 ounces of whey protein for someone of 80 kilos daily for a month. These patients will be patients of Crohn's disease, an inflammatory bowel disease that is characterized by a high intestinal permeability. And it was seen how this intestinal permeability improved at the same time that the biopsy that was done on these patients improved. As I was saying, this improvement is mainly due to glutamine, an amino acid that can be supplemented separately and that has a trophic effect on the cells of the digestive tube. And finally, guys, 7 and we're done. Better muscle recovery after intense training. The better we recover our muscular system after training, the less risk of injury we will have and the more performance we will achieve. After intense training, it is obvious that our muscular strength decreases, our physical performance decreases due to fatigue in the central nervous system, due to micromuscular injuries that will have to be repaired, due to local changes in the muscle, vascular alterations, etc. etc. This can be minimized if it can be minimized. Whey protein reduces post-training strength loss. How does it achieve this? Well, it seems to achieve it by reducing fatigue at the level of the central nervous system, which is really in control of muscle strength, but it also achieves it in other ways that are even beginning to be studied now by increasing glutathione levels. We have seen it before by increasing the ease with which oxygen is transported in your blood vessels, and also by helping to repair those micro injuries that occur in training.